but about something deeper about our democracy. Obviously very disappointing that Pam Bondi didn't come today, and we're going to be working to make sure in a bipartisan way that her deposition gets rescheduled, or she will be held in contempt, and we have the votes to do that. But I want to speak more broadly about what the Epstein Class means for our democracy and what the way forward is. We meet at a time of crisis in self-government. Cynicism and even nihilism has taken hold of many corners of our nation. People are losing faith in liberal democracy itself in terms of having the ability to deliver. 70 years ago, John F. Kennedy declared that an American president shouldn't mindlessly follow the Pope. Today, Donald Trump is mindlessly bickering with the Pope, choosing hate over humanity, war over peace. How far have we fallen? Meanwhile, the American dream is out of reach for most of our citizens. 70% say they no longer believe in the American dream. Powerful economic forces of globalization and automation seem beyond their control, shaping their destinies while struggles go unnoticed. More troubling, perhaps most troubling, there is growing doubt about whether our nation can have a common national purpose again. Americans simply do not trust government because they see it captured by big money and by the powerful. They see the impunity of people like Pam Bondi not showing up even when Congress subpoenas them. And nothing encapsulates this sense of injustice more than what I call the Epstein Class. This is a group of elites who operate outside the law.
Representative Ro Khanna has just issued an uncompromising ultimatum. Pam Bondi will be held in contempt of Congress if she continues to evade them, and they have the votes to execute it. Today, we are heading straight into the epicenter of the institutional crisis in Washington. The issue does not stop at the legal evasion of one individual named Pam Bondi. Ro Khanna's speech has exposed a much more malignant tumor: the existence of the Epstein Class, an ultra-elite network that grants itself the right to stand above all constitutions and laws. While the ruling class tolerates abusers and human traffickers in the shadows, out in the open, they are equally ruthless in stripping away the livelihoods of millions of American workers to funnel $3 trillion into the hands of 19 billionaires. We are not going to beat around the bush. In today's program, we will directly dissect this historic indictment by Ro Khanna and the 21st century Marshall Plan he just proposed to salvage the economy. If you want to see through the most brutal blind spots of power, hit the subscribe button below. Let's begin. Let's start with the sharpest concept Khanna defined in this speech: the Epstein Class. In modern politics, it is rare for a politician to dare name the cruelty of the system so nakedly. Khanna isn't just talking about Jeffrey Epstein or specific individuals. He is defining a ruling class. Listen exactly to how he describes them.
As being part of a network instead of speaking up against the abuse of young girls. And many are asking themselves, if these elite can get away with that, what can't they get away with? They see elite indifference and impunity has led to wealth piling up in the hands of a few in a few places, while the vast majority of this country has faced stagnation and struggling for economic security.
If these elite can get away with that, what can't they get away with? This argument from Khanna is truly devastating. It explains exactly why Americans are losing faith in self-government. Imagine this. A normal citizen commits a traffic violation or owes a few $1,000s in taxes, and the state machinery will crush them. They will be prosecuted, stripped of their assets, and perhaps even lose their livelihoods. But on the flip side, we have a network of the world's most powerful people, mass abusing, trafficking humans, covering for each other at lavish parties, who remain completely untouched. When Pam Bondi ignores a congressional subpoena, she is sending a message: we do not have to follow your laws. Khanna connected this moral decay to economic misery. When a leadership class is callous enough to treat young girls as disposable commodities, it is no surprise that they also view workers, factories, and entire working communities as things that can be easily liquidated, shut down, and offshored to maximize profit. Legal impunity always goes hand in hand with economic exploitation. We move to an equally brutal aspect of Khanna's indictment: the economy. 70% of Americans no longer believe in the American dream, but the reason isn't that they are lazy. It's because the structure of the board was rigged from the start.
Consider this: 19 billionaires hold over $3 trillion in wealth, 12.5% of our entire economy. This is 3 times the concentration of the Gilded Age, where we had Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, Morgan, and Carnegie. We are in a new Gilded Age. The question is no longer, are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
19 people hold $3 trillion, the equivalent of 12.5% of the entire GDP. The current concentration of wealth is 3 times worse than the Gilded Age of the late 19th century. This is no longer free market capitalism. This is techno-financial feudalism. Khanna recalls the warnings of scholars about the hollowing out of black communities due to job losses and the despair spreading in the white working class. What did the government do during both of those phases? Absolutely nothing. And now the devastation has reached a very top tier.
Act. Well, now the concern has hit the professional class. I was just up at Brown University, and I asked how many of the folks there are concerned about getting a job in the future. Almost all the hands went up. Even Ivy Leaguers and their parents are concerned. A society fearing its future is a society that is in decline.
When even students at the apex of the educational pyramid like Brown University are terrified about the future, the illusion that if you just study hard, you'll have a stable life has officially collapsed. The forces of globalization and automation have escaped the control of the people. Faced with this crisis, how has the political elite responded over the past decades? With minor tweaks, Khanna calls this the ideological bankruptcy of politics.
We cannot go back to the days before Trump. That led to a Democratic Party that had an approval rating of 27%. How and why should we go back to a party or a politics that got us 2 terms of Donald Trump? We cannot simply resort to incrementalism or this fashionable nudges of a broken system. There was a paper written about let's just nudge things in the government. It was heralded as some great academic insight. The era of nudges and incrementalism are over.
Khanna admits a bitter truth. Donald Trump is not the root cause of the problems. He is a symptom of a system that was already rotting. Returning to the normalcy of the previous era means returning to a risk-averse party that relies on experts to deliver tiny nudges. But you cannot use a Band-Aid to fix a severed artery. Incrementalism is merely an excuse for political cowardice. When you tear down the old mindset, you must build a new foundation. Khanna has laid out the most ambitious legislative blueprint in generations: new economic patriotism.
Stated after World War II, George C. Marshall developed a plan for reindustrialization of Europe. Well, today we need a 21st century Marshall Plan for the middle class and working class of America, mobilizing business, workers, universities, and government to rebuild struggling communities and address our economic divide. Here's what that means. First, it means jobs. And if the president wants to tweet out on Truth Social like he did with Warren, this is what I want him to focus on. We need a Work for America program modeled on the Works Progress Administration that created over 8.5 million jobs under the Roosevelt administration. Here's how it would work. Every young person out of high school or college would have the chance to do work that is deeply meaningful, rebuilding communities, providing care services, working on national technology projects, making government agencies user-friendly, training in industries of the future. You'd get a job right after.
Let's dive into these 4 pillars. First, the Work for America program, creating meaningful employment right as young people leave school to rebuild infrastructure and upgrade technological systems. It is the civic equivalent of military service, helping to heal social fractures.
Second, we need investment. We will create a historic national industrial bank to invest in critical technologies that will define the future. semiconductors, rare earths, advanced manufacturing, key starting materials for drugs, medical innovation, modern steel, robotics, shipbuilding, and more. And it will meet the test of the private sector with critical investment from the federal government in deindustrialized areas like Johnstown, like Lorain, Ohio, like Milwaukee. This isn't invoking distant memory. You don't have to go all the way back to Bill Knudsen and FDR. We did it recently with the CHIPS Act that I helped write a few years ago. Now we must do it for other critical technologies across this country. Third, we need to make the care economy a national priority. Child care, elder care, home care are not just services. They are the backbone of a humane society. And they also happen to be good-paying jobs that AI can't do or that can't be outsourced.
Pillar 2, a national industrial bank. We cannot let the free market dictate the future of semiconductors or rare earths. That is a matter of national security, requiring state intervention to revive deindustrialized regions. Pillar 3, the care economy. Artificial intelligence can write code, but it cannot care for a child or an elderly person. Turning these jobs into well-paid professions is how we build a solid, humane society.
We need to form a nationwide system of trade schools and tech institutes in this country. That means 1,000 new trade schools for jobs of HVAC technicians, electricians, cosmetologists, drone operators, robotic technicians. Young tradespeople there will learn how to use technology and AI to do their crafts. And tech institutes across HBCUs and public universities in this country. We did this with the TechWise program that I launched with Google, NVIDIA, and Zoom. We provided 9-month courses, $5,000 scholarships, 10 hours a week, leading to $75,000 to $100,000 jobs in rural Iowa, in South Carolina, in central Pennsylvania. We need to scale that across this country. We need people who are going to be helping the next generation get the jobs of the future while being able to stay in their communities.
Pillar 4, the vocational training revolution. Building 1,000 trade schools. Khanna is telling the working class, you do not have to leave your hometown for Silicon Valley to survive. You can stay, master new technologies, and rebuild your own communities. Ro Khanna's speech is a brutal reality check for the current political system. It exposes the pathological link between those who abuse power in the shadows of the Epstein Class and the wealth. Disparity tearing American society apart in broad daylight. When Pam Bondi ignores a subpoena, the elites are gambling with the very survival of this democratic institution. If there is no accountability at the top, every economic promise at the bottom is a lie. But Khanna's vision of economic patriotism is not built on fear. It is built on actual production and restoring dignity to the working class. A society that fears its future is a society in decline. The choice now belongs to us. Continue to tolerate the depravity of a small group or reclaim this country with boldness. Thank you for watching Inside Politics. Leave your thoughts on the Epstein Class and the 21st Century Marshall Plan in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit subscribe. See you in the next broadcast.